Well, I think we'll go ahead and get this meeting called to order. It's 9 o'clock. That one's off a little bit, but this one says 9. So if you'll stand with me, we'll do the flag salute. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Christy Basati from Open Door Health is going to lead us in prayer this morning.
Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this beautiful day. Thank you for the opportunity to be here together, Lord. Thank you for the opportunity to serve you and to serve our community. I pray your blessing over everyone here in this meeting today, but especially, Lord, for the group of men that are up front, Lord. I thank you for their servant's heart. I thank you for their service for our community, Lord. I pray your blessing over them, a hedge of protection over them, Lord God. I pray, Lord, for integrity. I pray, Lord, for unity, Lord, that they may be united in you, Lord, first, and united for our community. I just pray for their hearts, Lord, that they may be pure and that they may be centered on your will. I pray that everything here today will bring you honor and glory. It's in your Son's mighty and precious name I pray.
Amen. Thank you. Appreciate you doing that. Well, welcome. Is there anyone here that is here for public comment this morning? Well, I'm not seeing anybody run to the podium. By the way, is the microphone on a podium on, Sandra? Can you look? It seemed quiet.
There you go.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate you doing that. Any additions or revisions to the agenda?
Commissioner, I request that the addendum to the grant agreement between Reno County and United Way of Reno County pertaining to ARPA funds be added to business item 7E.
Got a question about that. Is this something that's urgent? Because the commission didn't receive an email on this until 4:52 yesterday. And so I believe that if it's not urgent, the public should have the opportunity to see it and weigh in.
It's relatively urgent. It could wait until next week's meeting. That would be the very latest because there's contracts that the Child Care Task Force United Way has with the school districts that are on here and as providers that they're needing the money for gap. The purpose of this, the gap financing for those child care projects need to be, I think, in their hands by the middle of November. So next week is our last meeting before then to be able to get it into our accounts payable and a check sent to United Way so they could send a check to the school districts. So it's urgent, but next week, it could be on next week's.
So we're having an extra meeting this month?
There is a meeting next Wednesday. It's a small agenda, short agenda.
So I don't know how the rest of the commission feels, but I would prefer to move it to table it until next week, so that way the information can get out to the public.
Anybody want to weigh in on that?
So are there two amendments? Or just one?
Just one.
For Bueller?
That's part of it. So there's, let me pull this up. The Bueller 306, they put that in there as an addition, including a funding request, but it's part of that 832,000. So it's one addendum, but they specified the Bueller one a little bit separately. As part of the funding projects there's two for Bueller, one at 80,000, one at 306,000. Then Nickerson has one at 114,000, Pretty Prairie 72,000, and Haven 260,000. So,
And they're all changing, or they all need this addendum, or just?
I guess the purpose of the ARPA funding hasn't changed. It's how we're getting the money sent to the United Way. This is kind of gap financing. All these school districts receive some accelerator grant funds from the state, which is also ARPA, or federal funds that are being passed through. The difference on this and why we have the addendum is our current agreement with United Way doesn't have us putting this kind of money up front before the cost, before the reimbursement. So in other words, United Way, for them to front almost $1 million and then wait on the county to get a check to cover that, to float it, isn't realistic. So this allows us to give them the money to write the checks, and then the reimbursement they'll receive back, or not the reimbursement, the documentation they'll receive back from the school districts will be between United Way and the school districts.
Maybe if I could add just a piece of information about how this got onto the agenda. There's a company called iParametrics that the county has hired as a consultant from the very beginning to review our processes and make sure that we are in compliance with the ARPA program. And when iParametrics was just reviewing our programming, they identified this area and said, we'd really like you guys to have a little bit of extra documentation on record as to what you're doing here to make sure you comply. And that's why staff have put it in front of you. So our consultant whose job is to make sure we pass our audit just asked us to put a little bit more documentation on the record, and that's what we added today.
So this doesn't change our allocated amount, it's just a timing thing.
Yes, that's all it is.
Yeah, and my only thought is, last minute things added to the agenda, especially, in light of that conversation, not everybody has read the email that came out associated with this. And so, it would give the public time to weigh in. It would give the commission time to look over the documentation. Per staff, there's time to put it on next week's agenda rather than putting it on the last minute on this agenda. So that's just my concern, is that it seems that by I've always just hated last minute items to the agenda that aren't urgent.
Personally, I did read it, and to me, it makes no difference. It's one of those things that's got to happen for the ongoing. It's a cleanup issue, as Patrick said. It's not like it's not anything new. It's been allocated. It's just dotting the I's and crossing the T's, so we're not looked at later on as not doing it in the correct manner. So either way you guys want to handle it, I'm good with it.
Ordinarily, I would agree with you, John, but I think this money has already been allocated, and it's just making sure we are in compliance with iParametrics that we've handled. So it's not really a change of money. It's just documentation for them to handle it. I see your point in adding things at the last minute the public doesn't know about, but they already know about these funds anyway. So that's what I would.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, acknowledging Commissioner Weitzel's objection, I'd like to motion that we amend the agenda as recommended by the county administrator.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hurst. I might comment too, because I didn't say anything. I think it's just purely formality to be able to protect us. I understand, John, too, that your concerns there, but it's just moving the thing forward and protecting us for an audit, and that's a good thing. So I'm standing with it as well. Well, so we have a motion and a second. Any further comments? Roll call.
Commissioner Hurst?
Yes.
Commissioner Friesen?
Yes.
Commissioner Parks?
Yes.
Commissioner Weitzel?
No?
Commissioner Bogner?
Yes.
Well, we kind of skipped around, but we got that one done.
It's added to the agenda for discussion. That's all I have.
Okay. Consent agenda. Any questions or comments on that? Or motion to accept consent agenda?
I'll move to accept the consent agenda as prepared by staff.
I'll second. Any comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Commissioner Hurst,
Yes.
Commissioner Friesen,
Yes.
Commissioner Parks,
Yes.
Commissioner Weitzel,
Yes.
Commissioner Bogner.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Well, we'll move down into business item 7A, Community Corrections Annual Report. Randy?
Okay. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Randy Regier. I'm the Director of Reno County Community Corrections. You're all familiar with our Community Corrections program, so I won't go into depth too much on any of these items, but I wanted to make sure just to provide it so that if there were questions or for the public's benefit. So we always like to start out with this simple structure on how the field supervision works in Kansas. There's really three main agencies. You have court services, community corrections, and state parole. Court services is under the judicial branch. Those are state employees, and you pay for all the expenses except for personnel. They supervise misdemeanor, low-level felony probation. That's kind of their target population. Community corrections, we are funded through state general fund grants that are passed through the Kansas Department of Corrections. That's grants to you. You're the county employees. We supervise the moderate to high-risk probationers. State parole is what you typically think of as people that are post-release, that have already served their sentence in the Department of Corrections and are out on release. So that's state parole. Those are all state employees, and everything that they have is funded through the state. Feel free to stop me at any point if you have questions also. I also just included the org chart for our agency. You can kind of just see the simple breakdown. You can see that most of this it's Department of Corrections provides a lot of the direction for our agencies. We do have advisory boards as well. The different percentages under each of those names is just the way the salaries are broken out. We try to be efficient with our grant funds, and so you can see a lot of people are spread between different grants. Again, the people that are supervised by community corrections last fiscal year, 2/3 of our adult population that were assigned to us were specifically for drug crimes. It's either drug possession or a sale type of a crime. That's 2/3 of our population. The high risk and needs areas that we're targeting are substance abuse and addiction, mental illness, and then obviously criminal thinking issues. So when you kind of look at what a community corrections officer does, as we dial in a little bit tighter, officers are going to assess the people that are assigned to them. They're going to refer them out for mental health and substance abuse treatment. They're going to be monitoring that to make sure the person remains in compliance. But our main job is to focus on criminal thinking. So they have the hard job of trying to address the criminal thinking with that person, really change the way they think, leads to changing how they behave. So our association for next fiscal year, fiscal year 26, we're going to be advocating for a total increase of $3 million for community corrections statewide. That comes down to $1.5 million to add 51 additional officers statewide. This is a 3-year phased project that we've embarked on. We received support last fiscal year from the Department of Corrections to increase some funding. That was phase 1 of this request for 51 additional officers statewide. So we received the 1.5 last fiscal year, which is the fiscal year we're currently in. So we're asking for 1.5 for FY26. We're also asking for $1.5 million to focus on its behavioral health grant, and that focuses on substance abuse and mental health supports for clients. So the reason we're asking for the additional $1.5 million in our behavioral health grant really comes down to this grant's been at $3 million statewide since FY14, so over 10 years now, we've been stuck at that $3 million. That $3 million is not buying us what it used to buy us as far as when we talk about interventions for substance abuse and mental health treatment, those dollars just don't go as far. I think an important piece of that is that early intervention and treatment. really saves us money down the road for incarceration costs, whether that's locally within the Sheriff's Department or in the Department of Corrections at a state level. We also just know that making sure we address those things is going to reduce recidivism, which is going to directly impact community safety. So it's really pretty beneficial. That behavioral health grant is very targeted in what it can be used for. No administrative costs, anything like that. So it's pretty specific as to what we can use it for. That's kind of the request we're making to the state this year. A couple of our other programs that Community Corrections supports is our drug court program. You're all familiar with the drug court program. Feel free to attend any of those court sessions. It's every other Monday. I think one of the few things that I'd point out about drug court is just the fact that there's a lot of contact between those substance abuse mental health providers and our community corrections staff. And then the other thing that's kind of different from any other type of supervision is the bi-weekly or the every other week court sessions where each of the defendants do have to come in front of the judge, and the judge has a chance to address any of their behavior. So you have a pretty quick response to positive and negative behavior for an individual. Our Senate Bill 123 diversion, you'll probably remember a little bit about this. This just started in January of this calendar year. For a person to qualify for Senate Bill 123, so with Senate Bill 123, what we're talking about is it's drug possession cases, all felony drug possession cases is what we're looking at there. Senate Bill 123 goes back a number of years and it provides funding for substance abuse treatment. Is what that is. Well, just within the last few years, the legislator made the option for diversion programs for that. You still do, just like any other Senate bill funding, whether you're assigned to community corrections or through the diversion program, you have to score high risk for a substance abuse addiction issue, and you're going to have to score moderate to high risk for recidivism in one of our other assessments. These individuals do have to still comply. This is not a diversion like you would typically think of a diversion sometimes where you say, hey, if you don't get in any trouble, all goes away. This is definitely not like that. There's a lot of intense supervision, a lot of drug testing. They still have to complete substance abuse treatment. They're still going to be required to pay any fines and restitution that are associated with that cost. We've had 16 people assigned total so far. Since January 1st in that, we've only had one person that's going through the revocation process, and that's simply an issue of they just won't report. So we have 15 people currently participating in that, so we're excited to kind of see how that continues to roll out. What I'd say is I think we're probably the largest diversion program in the state at this point. A lot of the other jurisdictions have not taken that on, or it's pretty low numbers, and so it's pretty exciting to see that we're making some progress there. Juvenile intensive supervision, so we also do supervise juveniles. The numbers are fairly low due to some changes at the state level several years ago. But there's three different really things that we focus on there. There's three different programs really. There's intensive supervision. This is really similar to your adult supervision. These are kids assigned by the court. They're usually out in the community, living with their families, and it's just a typical higher level probation. We also have kids that are at the juvenile correctional facility in Topeka. While obviously the juvenile correctional facilities takes care of most of the issues with those kids, our officers are required to meet in person with them on a regular basis. It's monthly as they approach their exit. And then really that leads right into case management, which are the kids that we supervised post-release from the juvenile correctional facility. It's really pretty similar to intensive supervision. There's a few differences, but for the most part, it's about the same. So that's just kind of a quick overview. Do you have any questions that I could help you out with this morning?
Yeah, John.
So one thing you glazed over that I think
Sure.
I think it'd be benefit for the public to hear this, because I think you do a really good job there, was the criminal thought aspect.
Certainly. Yeah, so you have pro-social thinking, when it comes to different situations that you encounter in life. You have a set of beliefs that you filter your actions through. And so does everyone else. Well, some of the people that we supervise, their thinking is different. they're going to be more likely to resort to violence. My boss tells me something I don't like, I'm going to fly off the handle, be angry, and quit my job or punch someone, right? Those are the types of things that we're going to look at. It's real common. Again, if you think about 2/3 of the people that we got assigned last year are on for substance abuse. Those fall into a couple different categories. People that are dealing with life trauma. Some of the people that we supervise have been through some pretty awful things, and the way they cope with that is substance use. It's kind of the way to get rid of that situation. They don't have to think about it. So you have that group of people. We also have a group of people that say, why would I take a job making minimum wage, being on my feet all day, and make no money when I can just sell drugs for a few hours and make way more than I would have at some job. So those are some of the things that we're going to try to address with them. We're going to be kind of trying to dig into why are they thinking that way, and then trying to address how do we kind of change that and try to make progress with them to turn that around. I mean, some of those things are challenging. I mean, it's a very real situation. If you're a young male and you have child support that's coming out of your check, if you go get a job at a fast food restaurant, they're going to take half of your check, which was small to begin with, and it's going to go to child support. So it's real easy for them to say, why would I do that? That makes no logical sense for me to go take that job when I could just sell drugs and make way more money. So those are some of the things that we're going to try to work on with them. I mean, again, a lot of it's just is substance abuse, and so we're going to really trying to work on things like one of the tools is RACE, recognize, avoid, cope, examine. So we're going to try to recognize those risky situations. We're going to try to figure out help that person figure out how do you either avoid that situation or how do you cope with it. And then we're going to come back and try to evaluate and see how did you do with that and what can we change next time to be more effective. So those are just a few of those things that we kind of look at with the criminal thinking.
Commissioner Hurst?
Randy, regarding the juvenile portion of this community corrections, how much time and effort is spent with the parents or parent? Because if they're going to go back and live at home, how much education, how much conversation, parental guidance is given to the parents?
Often it's as much as they'll allow. So we have some of the things that we have some, there's a statewide contract for what's called FFTs, functional family therapy. So this is a therapy where you have a therapist that's going to come out to the house, meet with the family at the house. I mean, people don't have to pay anything. They don't have to go anywhere. You just have to be home when we schedule a time to be home. And so that's a free service to those families. The officers, they're trying to work with those families as well, as much as they're willing to do that. It's not unusual for some of those people for the kids, the parents of the kids that we're supervising, it's not unusual for them to be engaged in some type of supervision also. So it's not unusual for us to have a parent and a juvenile on supervision. So it really depends on what they're willing to do. I mean, if they're willing to engage in services, we're going to do that. The reason I say that it's kind of dependent on them is the courts don't really have a lot of power to make a parent do something when it's really the youth that's on supervision. So they have power over that youth, but they don't have a lot of power over the parent. And the idea of, those kids can't be removed from the home, which changes we had several years ago. It's not like you can even take a kid that has a lot of difficulties in his living environment and move him and have other options for housing for him. We don't have the power to do that anymore. That's all done through the Department of Children and Families. That's the only way a kid is removed from their home is through that system. So there's just not a lot of power over those kids. Whereas if you think about the DCF system and a child needing care, there's pressure on those parents. The courts can put pressure on those parents to say, look, if you don't do this, this, and this, your kid's going to get removed. So we don't have that power. So what we've seen over the last 7-8 years with law changes is we went from having a lot of kids that are on supervision or in our custody through case management who that was an option. The courts, the judge could say, well, that's it. The kid's coming out of home. We're going to put them in a different environment until we can get some things figured out. That's no longer an option for the courts. That's all handled through the Department of Children and Family. So really, we want to provide as many services and supports to those families as they'll let us. But again, it's the ball's still in their court on those situations. All we can do is kind of provide as much services as we can and do our best part.
I just want to say I've never seen you here that you don't have a lot of enthusiasm. And I appreciate that. I appreciate you do a good job, and you do a good job of presenting. I thank you for that, and it's always informative.
Thank you.
So thanks for doing that.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Have a great morning.
You too.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Randy. Appreciate it. Well, moving to 7B, do you want to recap this real quick?
I'll try, yeah. Thank you, Commissioners. A couple meetings ago, we had a discussion about consent agenda, which I think everyone on the current commission's always understood it to be a way of moving the meeting forward more efficiently, and we've always said that if any single commissioner wanted to remove an item from consent to business, all they had to do was make that request. We didn't have to have a majority vote, but we discussed just as a good practice to put that into writing, which is what I've attempted to do. I think it's really a good thing to have on our notes and to have a record. I'm doing some research. I actually found some material from the League of Municipalities. The leagues that I consider an excellent resource, but they had some material out there that said that it should require a majority vote to move something from consent. The league is wrong, in my opinion. And I've talked to some other people who go to a lot of public meetings, we think this is the right way. So this is my best attempt to make a relatively short and simple statement that says how we do consent agenda, but I'll take any questions on it or any discussion, and the goal is just to put in record this is how we do meetings. So that's all I have.
Any questions or comments? Commissioner Weitzel?
I move to accept the resolution as presented by staff.
Do we have a second? Seconded, Mr. Bogner. Any further comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Commissioner Hurst,
Yes, we have a resolution number.
yes, it's 2024-29.
Yes.
Commissioner Friesen,
Yes.
Commissioner Parks,
Yes.
Commissioner Weitzel,
Yes.
Commissioner Bogner.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. 7C on the agenda, addendum to the ARPA Resolution 2022-22, the allocation of funds following addendum. I'm going to let Randy brief this.
Okay, so there's this, this item actually has two different parts to it. One is an addendum to the ARPA Resolution 2022-22, and then a different addendum for agreement based on if you guys approve the first one, the resolution, then the agreement can change. So the resolution that's on here kind of makes some changes to the resolution that was adopted in 2022 that kind of spells out in a table. Let me get this to where everyone can see it. This shows what in 2022, the county commission at that time allocated different ARPA funds to different projects. The addendum before you today has a few changes. So earlier this year, the county commission approved using, excuse me, what's under Reno County Administration, and it shows their project description, Reno County EMS 5th Avenue building. Earlier this year, that actually said Emergency Management and Health Department building needs. The current EMS building downtown is in the same building as the Health Department. So when an opportunity to buy property on 5th Avenue, the former Nelson Heating and Air building, the county commission authorized spending ARPA funds to buy the building, move EMS to that building with renovations that are needed for that building. As we got through the process to follow state law with bidding and design build or design bid build or construction management at risk, whichever process we followed, we found it was going to take longer than what we have with ARPA, because we would have to use the remaining $223,000, I think is what the amount was, or $243,050 of ARPA funds for the EMS building. We would have to have a contract with a construction company that's actually going to do the build, not just the architect and the engineer. We would have to have the construction company already selected and signed a contract by the end of this year. That's not possible. So this addendum takes that $243 plus the $222,785 remaining that was for Reno County administration for the EMS building and move it to the Arlington EMS building. With the agreement, the addendum to the agreement that follows this resolution addendum, that agreement with the hospital is what we need by the end of this year. The county commission, the county has then allocated those funds, those ARPA funds, to the hospital for the Arlington EMS building. So that would change the Reno County, the Arlington EMS station would go from $260,000 to $483,028.50 for that project, which doesn't cover the full Arlington EMS cost, but it gets a lot closer. And then that changes to what's under Reno County administration for the Fifth Avenue building from $522,785 to $300,000, because that's what was spent to buy the building, and that one would be completed. So that's what the resolution, the addendum, is shifting these funds. And then the $243.50, that was part of the $12,100 that was allocated to Haven EMS when they bought all the items, the products that they had requested for. It came in under $243 was left, so the EMS director there said they didn't have any other needs, but then requested it be used for some of the other EMS projects. So we've put it on to the Arlington EMS station. So the resolution, amending a portion of resolution 2022-22, that is the intent. That's what that does, is reallocates the funds as I explained.
So this is two motions and two votes?
The resolution is, yeah, there are two
Get that
completely
first.
separate motions.
Comments or questions? Did I get a motion?
Maybe this is a little early to talk about this, but in some of the information given to us regarding the cost, the potential cost and so forth of all of this, to look at $500,000 to renovate the building on Fifth Street, I've got a real problem with that when it comes to looking at things, because if I can build a house for $225,000 to $250,000, why in the world are we spending $500,000 to renovate a building? Maybe it would be better for us to put that building back on the market and take a look at building. And there has been some talk regarding me, and I'm just passing it along. And we've had a discussion with this person of why we did what we did, where we did it. And with potential things that are coming off south of town, his consideration was re-looking. But I said we also have the situation north of town that we have to look out after also. So we have to make those tough decisions, and I think probably we made the right one. But the problem is with putting an extra $500,000 into that, I've got a real problem with that. We need to be seriously looking at what that total cost is, and if we can build cheaper, maybe we just need to build cheaper. But I know this is on a time frame that we have to be very careful and follow parametrics and what ARPA funds are. The other thing is, I had passed this along to the county administrator before, is by allocating just $37,500 to that Pretty Prairie EMS building, is they're pretty much in a tough situation, and they ask if we could give a little bit more to them. So maybe maybe that needs to go in your whole consideration to this too. See if we couldn't assist them just a little bit more with their total cost of $575 or $525 for that building, as they do cover. And I know we've talked about how we cover all of this area, and we can't move out of western Reno County. There's too much area for that to handle by coming in closer. But that's just some of my thoughts is when we look at these funds, we've got to be able to figure out a way to do this a little more economical than's planned, and to look at this estimated cost of $600,000 to $900,000. That's way too much of a range with regards to the EMS building at Pretty Prairie, at Arlington, excuse me. That's all the comments I have. It's just, I think we need to be really careful with what these estimates cost and look at all angles to build.
Commissioner Bogner?
Well, I think Commissioner Hurst is probably on the right track. We need to have usable buildings, but they need to be priced right. But in my mind, what we're doing here today is actually taking away from this building here, sending it out there where we definitely need to do something, replacing those funds. That would leave the door open to study your deal a little closer. So I'm trying to get my mind. If we do this today, we haven't done anything to stop that or to change that. We keep our funds rather than have to turn them back in. So in my mind, we about need to do this today and then address Commissioner Hurst's issues as we go forward.
Yeah,
if we consider them needing, but for right now, we about got to do this to stay compliant and not lose those funds. Am I correct?
You're correct in that the Fifth Avenue EMS building, that's taken out of the ARPA discussion. So that is, if the commission wants to debate or have a discussion about what to spend on that, that can be done and move into next year. It doesn't have to be done right now. You're right that for ARPA, we need to have the agreements in place before the end of the year. So what this resolution does is exactly what you said. It moves that remaining money that was going to be for EMS to the Arlington EMS station that will help cover a majority of the cost out there.
I kind of muddied the water, but I just wanted to get my 2 cents worth in of looking forward, and I don't have any trouble with the resolution. It's just
Most of these that we're looking to build, it's a single unit ambulance there.
I believe in Arlington, and I asked Dave Johnson, the EMS director, to be here to answer questions.
And Pretty Prairie, I don't remember. Is it? Just in comparison.
Yeah, Dave Johnston, Reno County EMS Chief. So the Station 2, the intent there is we're going to move 2 ambulances to that station. Is to improve the response here. I know we've had some complaints brought up about responses to the south, and I'll direct that right now. The issue is it's not trains or specific locations. It's that this truck located right out your back door is busy. They're busy all the time, so when another call comes out, we're having to send a truck from the hospital down. And when we have a second truck down here, that'll be tremendous, but it's going to cut response times across the board, specifically to the south. Because when we've had delayed responses to the south, it's because we don't have a truck coming from this station. It's coming from the hospital. So I know the train's been brought up. There's routing around train tracks for that, or that location there. We can shoot across 4th Street, Dan Van Buren, hop on Woody Seat until the construction pops up there.
But your outside units, they just house Arlington and Pretty Prairie, one unit?
Yes, yes. Yeah,
Well, that's
Arling-
factoring more building, and you couldn't build a building for what we paid for it, so, we're gonna have other uses for it as well. So it's typically gonna have more money involved in making one that houses 2 units and more people.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Dave. Yeah, go ahead, Don.
Dave, are you gonna be around a while, or are you gonna have to leave?
No, I can stay around.
I just got a question later on another issue.
Okay.
I don't want to insert something else in the middle of this discussion, but if you've got the time to remain for a little bit, I got a letter here from the mayor, and I'd like to see where we're at on getting something done out there.
Okay, and I can address real quick on the Arlington, just a quick update, and Randy had asked for that. So since we've had the contract signed, allocating, and I think a max was set of $610,000 on that site out there. We've done visits to Pretty Prairie. We've entered into an agreement with Landmark Architecture for that. We've had preliminary meetings for drawings, and they have scheduled plat surveys and geo surveys of the site we're intending on building it at. So that's all moving forward. They're supposed to come back with us with estimates and cost and for us to approve some things. So by one of our next transparency meetings here in November, I should have some preliminary drawings and preliminary cost for that building. And then after that, it'll be, once we come back with the cost on that, I'll come back to the commission, present that, and then we'll be out for bids on construction. So I hope we can move quickly on this timeline.
The mayor has, in a letter, has told us that current buildings on the site that need to be removed because of problems with animals and rodents. Can we get a time frame on when that's going to disappear? I mean, we own it as the county owns it the way this whole thing is set up, and I hate not to be a good neighbor.
Well, as of yet, we do not own it. We have not purchased the land until we get approval for you for the entire project on that. And so we want to make
Okay,
this.
so we don't own it.
We don't
It
own it.
isn't
It's the
in our
landowner
lap
that-
at this
yeah.
point.
Yeah, and our intent is as soon as we get approval of the plat survey and the geo survey that it meets our needs, then we'll look forward to move forward with it.
And should that happen, probably will. Time frame when they get some relief?
I would expect as soon as we get a contractor bid on it. So I don't want to jump ahead, but I'm hoping first quarter we can get moving on this thing.
Well, it's just an issue, and I told the mayor I'd bring it up, and I thought,
Yeah.
so I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
If the holdup is just getting a survey done on it so we can buy it, why don't we get that done? I mean, that shouldn't take too long to get that survey done and the geo done on it. I mean, we've talked about it for a long time, and we've planned on it, and we've made arrangements to buy it. So I don't see why 30 to 60 days shouldn't be able to close on that and start demolition and cleaning it up and getting the site ready. Do you?
I personally don't see that, but I'll have to go through my board to get that
You
done.
bet.
So I'll work through that.
Appreciate you helping us out with the situation.
Thanks, Dave. Well, one other factor, and this doesn't have anything to do with this resolution, but obviously we're clearing out of space in the health department. We go back to look at space needs. That's going to move that project forward a little bit more for them over there as well. So that's all factored in not having to build new construction for some of their needs as well. So, which I think it makes it somewhat reasonable that way to do this. So, but that's my 2 cents worth. Any further discussion? Do we have any kind of motion, or anybody want to talk about anything else?
I would move that we go ahead with this resolution that's been proposed by staff as proposed. Do we need a number, or I guess that's, I've heard that before, but I mean, we're talking about this particular proposal.
2024.
Okay, well, so if that's the number in it, that's what I'm proposing.
Do we see a second?
And she didn't have her mic on, so it's 2024-30 is what I believe she said, and I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Weitzel. Further comment? Seeing none, roll call.
Commissioner Hurst,
Yes?
Commissioner Friesen,
Yes.
Commissioner Parks,
Yes.
Commissioner Weitzel,
Yes.
and Commissioner Bogner.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Moving into part 2.
This is the motion for the addendum to the agreement with Hutchinson Regional Medical Center that adds the $223,028.50 in ARPA funds toward the Arlington EMS project, which would total, when you add the $260,483,028.50. And then the addendum to the agreement also adds $100,000 that was from the U.S. Department of Treasury's local assistance and tribal consistency funds. That's similar to ARPA. We have similar requirements and deadlines to spend that. So that would give the hospital $583,000 to work on this Arlington EMS station. That's what the addendum to the agreement. And I believe, let me see if it would be authorizing for me to sign. We'll send it back to the hospital and wait for Benjamin Anderson to have it in front of his board to get approval and sign. And that's kind of that time frame as you were talking with Dave. Once it's signed, I'll send it to the hospital, and then they'll run it through their board, and things will start. Government processes.
The wheels of government turn very slowly sometimes. Okay.
I move to approve resolution 2024 dash, is it 25?
This is not a resolution.
Oh, is it a resolution?
Addendum.
Okay, I moved to, okay, apologize. Strike that and move to approve the addendum to the contract.
I'll second that. Further comment? Seeing none. I'm always jamming that right up against you trying to write. Roll. I'll say roll call. Give you a moment. I have trouble.
Commissioner Hurst,
Yes?
Commissioner Friesen,
Yes.
Commissioner Parks,
Yes.
Commissioner Weitzel,
Yes.
Commissioner Bogner.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. 7D, proposed contract renewal between Reno County Water District Number 8 and Idea Tech Telecom LLC to be effective December 1st, 2024.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I just want the record to note I have a conflict of interest, so I'll abstain from the conversation.
Okay.
Don Britton, Director of Public Works. Yeah, this is an agreement between Idea Tech and Water District 8, which is Highlands, to put some of their equipment on their water tower for telecommunications so people can get internet. This was an annual agreement that required redrafting an agreement each year and signatures prior to the payment. Idea Tech contacted me wanting to know if they just make this a 5-year agreement and keep the terms the same. I totally agree with that. I did clean up the agreement because this was the original agreement and had language in there of what they needed to do on the original agreement as far as installing stuff. So I removed the language and cleaned up the agreement, removing language regarding the initial payment and the updated equipment on the tower because it was wrong and they've done some different stuff. I also removed the $1 monthly charge that made no sense to me. I don't understand what that was about. It might have been because everything was new and they wanted to see how it worked out, so I don't agree with that. I also removed the monthly electrical billing. Idea Tech was to pay the electrical cost exceeding the normally monthly cost in the past, so we'd see that what they put up there, if it actually was costing the water district more. The increase, if any, was so minimal that the administrative cost to divide it up, send out the bill and all that was more than what the bill was. So I think having that in there, because they virtually don't use any electricity, and if the rates went up, we're paying more because the rates went up. So I don't think that should be in there anymore. Like I say, it cost the water district for that to be there. And so that, after doing all that and cleaning it up, I recommend that you approve this agreement between Idea Tech and Water District 8 and the chair sign it.
Any comments? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve the proposed 5-year contract between Reno County Water District number 8 and Idea Tech Telecom LLC beginning December 1st, 2024. Seconded by Commissioner Bogner. Further comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Commissioner Hurst,
Yes.
Commissioner no,
Abstain.
Commissioner Parks,
Yes.
Commissioner Weitzel,
Yes.
Commissioner Bogner,
Yes. Motion passes. Moving to 7E. You want to word that? I didn't get it all written down. I should have.
So 7E is the addendum to the grant agreement between Reno County and United Way of Reno County. And the request would be to authorize the county administrator to sign this addendum. As we talked kind of at the beginning, this changes the way in which we give money to United Way for childcare, ARPA funds. It's kind of to front them the money for the gap financing to these school districts. It doesn't change really anything in the meat of the contract. It's just how we are getting money to them. Usually we wait for a cost and we reimburse. So because this is $832,599, they don't have the money to really front this. So the request was that we give the money up front, and they'll basically write checks to these school districts as soon as they have the money in the bank so that they can write the checks. And so the addendum, the iParametrics recommended, they wrote this, they drafted this, sent it to us yesterday. And Commissioner Weitzel, sorry about the late notice. I know it's frustrating, but we found out about this last Friday, asked for an agreement as soon as possible. I got it yesterday afternoon. We reviewed it really quick and emailed it to you, knowing that there's the county, for Reno County, when iParametrics approves, after whether it's United Way or Interfaith for their money, they send requests and they fill out forms that goes to iParametrics. iParametrics reviews it and then notifies us, sends it to us. They have to have it to us by noon on a Wednesday for it to be in that week's AP disbursements that you guys approve each week, and then the check is available the following Friday. So it takes, by the time that we approve it, it takes at least 10 days before they get the check mailed. If they come pick up the check at the county clerk's office, that's one thing. Otherwise, then they have to wait for mail, so it could be 2 weeks. That's kind of the problem with this fronting the money. It's not fronting it for, that they would have to front it for like a day or two. If United Way, they may wait for 2 weeks by the time they actually get the check. Just because, again, government, by our process to protect ourselves and our citizens' money, we have a process, it takes time. And the contract just got in yesterday afternoon. That's why I sent it to you, knowing that we needed to, or based on the contracts United Way that had been approved by iParametrics with each of the school districts, the money was guaranteed by, I think, the second week of November. And so if you approve it today, they will get the check if they pick it up on November 1st. United Way would. If you wait till next week, it would be November 8th before they got the check.
Okay. Thank you, Randy. Any comments?
So I did have a question about this. So it kind of occurred to me when I was reading through this last night. So when these ARPA funds were approved, I don't think anybody thought, hey, we're giving the school districts more money than they were originally allocated. Because I know I was on the school board in Haven when we were discussing some of this, and this was going to come out of the funds that we had in the district. And so is there any sort of conflict with us giving this much money to another taxing authority that already taxes our citizens more than 50% of the annual budget of the state?
There's not a legal conflict in doing it. When in 2022, the county decided to make a push with their ARPA for childcare, and I think of all the different things that of all the different ARPA programs, childcare was the most unknown at the time, but that money was allocated for it. What's changed since then? What no one knew at the time, that the state of Kansas would push a lot of its ARPA allocation into childcare and push that through the school districts. So the programs that are ultimately being funded through here didn't exist in 2022. These are things that have been worked on and kind of built since then, and that's why we're doing this work now to kind of go backwards and document it. But it's probably arguably a better plan. That it's probably worked out better than we might have thought it would have in 2022, because there's coordination between school district, state, and the county. So that's what's happened.
Further comment? Not, is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the amendment for upfront funding of $832,599 for quality and expansion gap projects as presented by staff.
Mr. Hurst motions, is there a second?
You want me to second? A second. Everybody's looking at me. I'll second.
I thought you were grabbing your. I see you grab the mic. Second by Commissioner Friesen. Nothing like putting you on the spot, huh? Yeah. Further comments?
Yes, I'd just like to comment that my no vote on this is procedural. I've always pushed for more transparency in government and things that come on the agenda that the public doesn't have a chance to see or comment on. I just have an issue even if it's just procedural things like this. So I just want that noted for the record.
I would say, I mean, balancing that point a little bit, I think the schools are really leaning forward on the child care stuff, and schools never have any money. And so I think just helping, I think they're just looking for some cash flow help here, I'm assuming. So I think we need to lean forward with them, so.
I would dispute that. The schools have a good bit in their reserves. Being on the school board, at least in Haven, maybe we were just run better, but we were flush with cash.
Further comment?
Yeah, in following this through from day one, I'm not so sure that this isn't a more efficient way of getting child care done, is in coordination with the schools, because one of the main ingredients of having child care at an early age is to develop that child's brain, if you would, to thinking. And that's been the biggest problem along the way, is finding independent people at a cost-efficient basis for the person. Now, it'd be ideal if it was like when we grew up, okay, but it's not like that. So I'm thinking maybe this has grown into a more efficient system. I hope that's the case.
Further comment? Let's have a roll call.
Commissioner Hurst,
Yes.
Commissioner Friesen,
Yes.
Commissioner Parks,
Yes.
Commissioner Weitzel,
No.
Commissioner Bogner.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0. All right, well, that'll conclude the business items. Let's move into County Administrator's Report, monthly reports.
I have the monthly reports that were in the packet for Health Department, Human Resources, IT, Public Works, Solid Waste, the Treasurer, and Youth Services. Any questions on anything in their reports? Okay. Also in the packet is the financial report, and we're doing really well right now financially. Revenues, obviously, because of interest, you can see that we're well above the budget. Taxes we're just below, but still okay at this point in the year. 113% on our general fund on revenues. Any questions on anything in the financials? Yes.
With the changes in interest rates recently, I know personally there's been some pretty severe cuts. What's the county's thought? I don't know. I know kind of where you're putting your money out on interest and how you're handling it. Does it look like we're going to be able to keep this pace in the long run here, or are we kind of getting up against the wall and we're going to go back to what we had before we had this year?
Well, last year was also good. I think it's going to go, it won't be staying at this rate if interest rates go down. I think I signed for a CD at like 4.8% yesterday. We're still doing pretty good on interest.
That's not bad in today's
If
market.
in the next year or two they keep going down, it will get closer to the budget. But we left it at the budget back as when banks were giving virtually nothing, like a fraction of a 1%. So I don't think it's going to get back to that, but it won't. I think we have probably hit the peak on the interest. So it'll probably start going back down, but it'll still come in above the budget.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Other things I have for my report, just wanted to give you guys an update. November 7th, Commissioner Parks and I will be at a meeting with hopefully all the mayors of Reno County on the Make My Move that was at the last meeting. We have scheduled with the chamber a meeting for November 7th at noon at the chamber and invited all the mayors to kind of go over what that program is, Make My Move, and to see the interest from each city that attends. And I've heard from a few cities that will be there. Haven't heard from all of them, but I hope all cities will have either the mayor or at least the city clerk or someone to represent that community at that meeting.
That'd be good.
And then, of course, after we have that meeting, probably bring that back to the commission for discussion, probably late November or sometime in December.
Did the mayor of Bueller talk to you?
No, I have not heard from Jerry.
I gave him your number, but
Okay, I haven't heard from him yet.
I mean, he was just, I think his comment was, you know, we always have these meetings and they never seem to turn into just complaint sessions, and, you know, and the breadth of different cities and different needs, it seems really hard to, like, you know, get anything done. So I think he was just hoping that, you know, if he's going to dedicate time to it, there would be a little more value added than kind of a social event.
I think for this meeting, it does have a specific purpose and hopefully action and a result for everyone in Reno County. There are a lot of times meetings that end up, you know, with no action items, but I think this one will have an action item. But I think is it Jake Schmidt if he contacts me, I can talk to him.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll make sure we take a role in facilitating this and keeping it rolling. So
Yeah.
the way it should go. So.
Another item I have, and I talked to Chairman Parks about this yesterday, just wanted to put it on everyone's calendar. Our second meeting in December is on Christmas, so we need to reschedule that. The county is also closed on the 24th on Tuesday, so I would recommend that we set the second meeting in December for the county commission for Monday, December 23rd. if that works for everyone's schedule. If not, it would need to be the following week, but probably again, wouldn't want to do it on New Year's Eve.
I don't party like I used to on New Year's.
Them comments came out, so we let it go.
I'll probably be asleep.
Sometimes we just see if we need a meeting.
Yeah, with year end, depending on what resolutions on that first meeting in December, there may be resolutions, especially year end transfers or things that need to be done by the end of the year. So I would assume it's probably going to be a very light meeting. I don't know at this point. If you guys don't want to have it then, I mean, again, the following week, and even if it's just to pass a few resolutions that maybe that just popped up.
I was just afraid out of town people maybe taking holiday
Yeah.
vacations or whatever.
Could we just do a virtual meeting if it's just paperwork?
We could have that as an option. Those that are here can be here, but if you are not available, we could set up it for virtual.
We're just afraid we might run into a conflict with our counselor as well if we, depending upon where we put it maybe.
No, I think we'll be fine. You don't have to worry about me. You know, commissioners should always be aware, you can always attend by phone or by Zoom now, and that counts as attendance. So I think the concern from staff is just having something on the books, because we get into year-end jams where we have to have something, but we're probably not gonna put anything real heavy or difficult on the 23rd of December.
Do we have a consensus? All right, 24
It's all right with me.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't care when we do it. We can do it on Christmas Day, that's fine.
Bring the turkey.
You guys want. The other thing another item I have is kind of going a little bit to Commissioner Hurst's comment that earlier this week, we had the deadline for proposals from the request for qualifications for the EMS building on Fifth Avenue. So we have received 3 proposals or 3 packets of information from architect companies, Schaefer Architecture, I think it's Tessir or whatever, formerly known as GLMB, and Hutton Builds. So I'm going to look at the statute to follow the process that we have to do to select a architect. There'll probably be interviews. So if there's any commissioners that can have up to 2 that want to sit in on interviews with these 3 companies to talk about Fifth Avenue EMS. And Dave, of course, you'll be invited also to sit in on those. Those will be
You'll be
taken.
required to bring the donuts.
So,
He's on this donut kick.
Well, I mean, anytime I can. No, I'm just
Were
kidding.
you for?
so once I get those scheduled, I'll send it out to all commissioners and to Dave. And so if 2 of you want to sit in, just let me know once that date is selected. And then the other item, I think, is the tax sale. Patrick, did you?
Could you put the county list? I think that might be the best way. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that we've got the county tax sale coming up on November 14th, so I'm really just starting to publicize it. And if you, where's the news? If you go up, it'll populate it. Yeah. I was gonna show them the recent, yeah, there you go. The people in charge of the website have done a great job with all the information is on there. It's on social media also. We're starting to make we have a list of what's currently on the list of what we'll be selling. That changes every day because people redeem their properties, which we appreciate when they pay their taxes off. But I just wanted to mention we're organized for that. November 14th at 9 a.m. People can pre-register anytime they want. So.
That's all I have.
Good. Okay. Commissioner Friesen, you got a comment?
Oh, I got a couple. One, on the meeting next week, if it's just light paperwork again, can we just move it to the following?
I'm just looking real quick to see if there's anything left on consent agenda.
No, Dawn's hiding from you there.
Any of your item,
Yeah,
your item for authority to award contract to King Construction, does that have a deadline? Is that? The other items are the water conservation,
That can wait for sure.
Operation Greenlight. So that would be the one, if, to pass a resolution, Operation Greenlight, put green lights around the courthouse to honor veterans for, I think, the first full week of November.
4th through the 11th.
4th through 11th. We have the green lights ready to go. It'd be just passing a resolution.
Can we just do that now?
Yeah.
I second.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
why we gotta have an addendum to the,
You can amend your agenda to do it. It's kind of a new thing, which is probably why it wasn't on our radar until.
Is this like a proclamation? Because you don't really need our authority to.
So I
you
think
know,
I think
commemorate.
it's between a proclamation and a resolution. It's a new what I know about it. It's been in the KAC. It's been in the news. I think the purpose of putting it in a meeting is in part just to publicize that it's to put some green lights for that first week of November around the courthouse.
So,
Um,
is it? I mean, you keep saying resolution. Is it just like just to put some formality around
I
it?
think the resolution was just to make the lights green. I think that everything else is just a proclamation. in support
We
of the
don't
veterans.
need
Yeah,
a resolution to.
We
turn-
probably don't. I mean,
Okay.
you know, just
Let's just do it.
so.
How about you could make a proclamation?
Well, we could certainly, if the commissioners are in support of this, which I think we all are, we
Okay.
can do some news. Or we can put it on the website while we're doing it and put the lights up. And
Let me try this, see if this works. Make a motion to suspend the rules related to an agenda item and allow this item to be voted on now, which is to approve staff's request to, what are you asking?
I think what we're asking to do is just to support the Operation Greenlight program by changing the color lights in the courthouse and publishing some news articles, some news items related to it.
That.
Yeah.
will there be a proclamation later on? That we,
And then we'll follow it up at the regular scheduled meeting with a proclamation explaining what we did.
Good.
I would second that,
Yeah,
to set aside
yeah.
and vote and agree.
Any further questions? Nope, roll call. Thank you, Daniel, for doing that.
Sure.
I think you'll probably have to get with her to get the motion, okay?
Get with Patrick. I pointed to
Right over
him.
there.
Staff will always support the commission in avoiding a meeting.
There you go.
That's
And we got
That
some more.
sounded-
And we got some more business done.
Yeah.
Commissioner Hurst,
Yes.
Commissioner Friesen,
Yes.
Commissioner Parks,
Yes.
Commissioner Weitzel,
Yes.
Commissioner Bogner.
Yes.
Thank
So
you,
that
gentlemen.
that's. Do you need anything else?
Yes, we do.
What do you need?
And talking to Don, there is a contract with King Construction for is a bridge half-mile east and 2 miles south of Bueller that has a deadline. So do you want to explain that?
Yes, the Victory Road Bridge south of Bueller, we got a grant on. And so we sent that out for bid, and King Construction was the low bid on it. And we just need approval from you for King Construction to award that bid to build that bridge. And there is a deadline on that. So if I could get that today, then I don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
Mr. Weitzel's probably going to object.
Yeah, sorry guys, we haven't even seen the contract. I mean, Don, I trust everything's above board, but
I hope so.
you know, I've got my voters to
Okay.
consider as well.
Yeah.
What are you asking for approval of?
For
The
King
contract?
Construction, the lowest bid to build this bridge.
Do we normally review those contracts?
We generally put them in consent, yeah.
It would normally be in your agenda packet, so,
Mhm.
I mean, the actual documents in the agenda packet, you don't usually go through line by line during a meeting.
And it's on the consent agenda for next week. That's why, but it has a deadline, November 8th, I believe is when.
You had something else you needed to bring back to us that we had to do before you can start your regulations or something, correct? Or something?
I can bring back whatever you want on
So
bridge design or what, I don't know. It's,
Is it too goofy to have a motion where it's permits any commissioner to object within the next 7 days, and if they don't, it passes.
I've got a compromise.
Okay.
So I don't think there's anything very controversial with this. If we could get a copy of the contract to review during, well, because we've got a study session after that, and then come back into regular session after to pass that one item, I would be okay with that.
To restate it, so you're asking if we could email you the contract now, you would adjourn your business meeting and then go back to business after the study session to take up that matter?
Yeah, I mean, if that's my suggestion. If everybody's okay
So
with it.
I'd motion to amend as requested by Commissioner Weitzel, the agenda.
I'll second.
Seeing no comment, roll call.
Commissioner Hurst,
I'll agree, yes.
Commissioner Friesen,
Yes.
Commissioner Parks,
Yes.
Commissioner Weitzel,
Yes.
Commissioner Bogner.
Yes.
We still got to be out of here by noon. Chair.
You don't have to stick around.
Well,
Hey, Don, I
No.
had one more question for you. Do we know when the solar regs are going to come back to us? Any idea?
Well, that's a little confusing to me on, so what you recommended and sent back to the planning and zoning was that they think about prohibiting it in the watershed part of the zoned area of the county and create regulations. So that's two different parts. So the one part, prohibiting in the watershed area of the zoned area of the county has already been done. I just have to create that, so that's done. So I guess that needs to come back to you, so you prove that.
Right.
And then we're gonna start on the regulations, probably the next meeting. So, but how long that will take, I don't know. We gotta start over. It's been.
But that's what I was alluding to
Been almost a
earlier.
year.
Is that something, just hold off till the next meeting, you want to bring that back, so for the zoning, the zoning for the water.
Do what?
The zoning for the watershed, that'll come to another meeting on it, it's not.
Yeah, because that's
It's
the way
not.
you asked for it to be done, instead of it just being part of the regulations. So
I don't-
that part's been done, and that'll
Yeah,
come
that'll
before
be
you.
jammed through today, so.
I don't know whether anybody else listened to that. I did listen to it while I was back east, and that part was done, and all that's left is for Don to do the actual legal description based upon the quarter section.
Yeah, I don't know about so, just like the zoned area is referenced per map, and I need to talk to Patrick about this. I think this other, I'll have the lines, quarter section, down to the quarter sections, and it'll be referenced per map instead of us hiring a, surveyor to go out there and survey that. I think that maybe I'll talk to Patrick, maybe that's up to whoever wants to put in a project. But we will have it defined by roads or quarter sections or half sections.
They've already voted.
And then reference the area prohibited per that map. Okay.
So, if you run now, we could probably look at it before our 11.
If what?
If you run now and get that contract, we can look at it before 11 because we have some time.
We got an exec session here real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, it's,
Okay, cool.
and you're just gonna be looking at the low bids and what they're bidding on, yeah.
But yeah, you can look at the study session after
Yeah, you've
we
got
get
it on
the
your
letter,
emails.
when we get people here after the executive session.
Did you send me a legal for the exec session? No, you didn't.
So, okay, do I still have the floor?
Yes.
Okay. Patrick, question for you for the study session. Okay, it's not going to be recorded, is it?
I don't know what we planned on doing that, right? I don't think we planned on it.
I was just going to say, if it is going to be recorded, I think we might be talking about some things related to negotiation of a contract, which the only concern I have is the bidder itself having information on that.
Yeah, I don't think we intended to video this.
I don't think we intended to. I think if
It's going to happen. We're going to have
Okay.
questions that.
my position on study session has always been that it's possible to go into an executive session during a study session, and I've done it before. The reason we would go into it is if it gets to the point where we really are negotiating or need to negotiate, we would adjourn to executive session so it wasn't public, because if we're, so that's what I think how we'll handle it. I don't know.
Okay.
I think from staff, we're not sure how general we're going to keep it or how specific we're going to go. But if we get into real specifics, we will adjourn to an executive session during the study session.
All right, thank you. I was just gonna make a comment to just recognize the staff that have been working on aesthetics. Like, I know there's been a few commissioner complaints over the years, and it's just been a process of like getting everything finally done. Like, I was outside, walked in this morning, and the grass was green and everything was nice and clean. I think Commissioner Hurst and I were here for like 3 years, where it was like a dumping ground of construction supplies. So that looks really nice out there. I also, it took a long time, but the development of I don't know what you call the middle area of the courthouse there,
Open area, the first floor.
yeah, there's a more eloquent architectural term for it, but the foyer or the whatever, like, that's really finally come together, and it's nice and clean, and there's not junk out there, and I just appreciate the way we're representing our community here and cleaning all that up. So thank you for that. That's all I had.
Okay. Commissioner Bogner, any comments?
Turns out some of the things I want to talk about got addressed by Mr. Dave, and I hope, Mayor Doug, that you've got something to tell your people. I did learn that we don't own it. That's a good deal for now. We're not being a bad neighbor. And that's mostly what I was concerned about. Not much mention was made of the city's big and the chamber's big development meeting Monday. I know we didn't have a whole lot personally we could do about it because of certain things that are needed out there. The city's kind of took the lead on that, but that's going to be great for Reno County. Get some reliable energy, as was pointed out, energy that's available 24/7. I know we've got some communities that are having a little trouble with that right now, and I just wish it could happen faster, but it's a process that's got to take place in its own due time. So I thank everybody that was involved with that, because that's going to be a giant shot in the arm for Reno County.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Commissioner Weitzel, then to you.
So we got the sample contract from Make My Move here recently, and I'm guessing this will be in a future agenda. But I did want to make the commission aware in a public setting of some things I found. I already emailed Randy about this. So the contract that was sent to us was for that $9,000, they would have to move into Reno County for a year. They could renting would be fine, and then the money would be paid after a year, and at that point they're free to move out of the county. And the $90,000 did not include any incentives, so any incentives that we provide to people to move here would be in addition to that $90,000. So we're probably talking somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000 per household, depending on what incentives we would want to do. I've made some phone calls to some cities and places that are participating in this. I've not received any phone calls back, so I'll continue to work on that. But I just kind of wanted to keep everybody updated on that. That's really all I've got.
Commissioners, for clarification on the additional incentives, that'd be from the private sector and businesses or other nonprofits, not from Reno County. So we wouldn't add any incentives beyond that 90,000 to participate. All the other incentives would be up to whether it's the communities, a city, businesses in that community. It wouldn't be Reno County itself.
Thank you for that clarification.
Commissioner Hurst?
Took care of the green light. Just wanted to bring it up again since I brought it up last meeting. The other thing, I've been over a lot of roads in the last 2 weeks. And I will say that Reno County stacks up every bit as good, if not better, than a majority of the roads I've been in. And I specifically, if you go east of Indianapolis, get ready, because it's terrible. It'll bounce you all over everywhere. I wished I would have had a air ride seat in my pickup.
Kidney restraint?
Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to comment about the roads and so forth. And like Don and me, I thought maybe we owned that. Thought we owned it, so I correct myself. I'm sure we've got a contract on it with contingencies. But that's all I have.
Okay, real quickly before we go to an exec session, I want to remind people, get out and vote. Vote, vote, vote. You need to do that if you're not planning on it. And even if you are, it's very, very important. November 7th, to make my move meeting, reminding for those that are listening, for the city mayors and maybe their council, please contact Randy Partington. We'd like to see a good turnout for that. Get some feedback. I know we work for some of those communities, and we certainly want to make the right moves in going forward with this as well. Yes, Don.
Thank you for reminding me what I forgot. I
You're
did attend the meeting in my district there at Haven the other evening. It was an interesting evening. Happened to get to sit down with at the table I was at with the city clerk, and I've already passed on to Mr. Britton that it looks like there's going to be some further regulation in water quality, that we and any entity that's bringing water to the public may have to address. So Don assured me that he was going to check into it. I hope it's not as stiff as she suggested, but she had just attended a meeting and seemed pretty sure of herself. So we may have some stuff to deal with in the future. And thank you for reminding me and letting me play off of you.
Nope, you're fine. No problem. Just one, yes.
No, I looked at the contract and it was very simple. I don't know if we want to just get that.
Yeah, as soon as I'm done here, we can do that.
Sorry.
That's fine.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
fine with it too.
I'd like to, if you guys are okay with it, yeah, we can do that. I'll just close these comments. It's already been reiterated once, but I did appreciate the meeting Monday when the reveal came of what the power plant was going to be built. And a lot of people don't realize how many people that's going to employ over the course of maybe 4 or 5 years, and the influx that we'll have from that as well. And then certainly the valuation of that is going to be a great deal for the county, and so really good. Didn't have a chance to make any comments Monday, but publicly I would just like to say I'm greatly in support of that. I appreciate all the work that went in from all the entities to make that happen, and it'll be a great boost in the arm for the county, and some of the infrastructure is going to be laid for that. We went to some early meetings, and it's going to enhance perhaps the industrial park that's south of South Hutchinson as well. Some of the utilities headed that way, so may help develop that as well. So that'll be a great thing. And again, Don, I want to say, yeah, thank you for the good work you guys do, like Commissioner Hurst did as well. Yeah, we're going to take up the matter before we go to exec session. We'll have about 20 minutes. We got to leave for that because I think we need a 5-minute break before we go to that, and so we want a 15-minute break. Somebody want to go back up in the business items and make a motion to accept? Yeah, Don, you want to reiterate what that is?
No, I'd just like to say one thing to John. This is on this Victory Road Bridge, this is a grant project. KDOT bids that out. The only thing KDOT sends back to me is the contractor to see if I approve of the contractor, which I do, King Construction, and the price of it, which was the lowest bid. So that's KDOT I didn't bid this out, KDOT does. So I'm just letting you know, I'm approving the contractor and the bid. That's what you would be approving.
So I'd motion to move this item again to now and amend the agenda for that, and then also approve as recommended by the Public Works Director.
Okay. And I see probably a second down the
Yeah, I'll second.
Any comment? Seeing none, roll call.
Commissioner Hurst.
Yes.
Commissioner Friesen.
Yes.
Commissioner Parks.
Yes?
Commissioner Weitzel.
Yes.
Commissioner Bogner.
Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You're welcome. At
Thank you,
this
Tom. I
time, we
appreciate
will
it.
take a recess for executive session. I'll read the deal here in a minute, and we'll vote to pass that. Well, I know we need to get up, but probably 10 till 11 would be good. Motion to move the board to enter executive session until 10:50 with the county administrator, county counselor. The subject matter to be potential acquisition of real estate by the county, and the justification for the executive session is to keep confidential the county's bargaining position, potential real estate acquisition. Do I have a motion to move to executive session?
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Weitzel. All in favor, say aye.
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 We will return at 10:50, and so we can adjourn. Are we going up, or we want to stay here?
he gonna do to keep his buddies from bringing him another damn sack of marijuana?
Yeah.
Putting in your facility? Well, it's like she says, what can I do? You've tied my hands. The only thing I can do is have.
Are we on the air?
Within 24/7.
Okay, and I'll make a copy of this and then.
Screwed up.
We don't know. There's three of us here.
There's three of us. Yeah, we have, everyone on? Okay, well, we're back from executive session. We're going to officially adjourn the meeting and move to a study session.